This is not just any loud psycho roommate story. I want you to get that. Like literally, if you think this is just gonna be like, my roommate was loud and I didn't like her, like whatever, like I was just so annoying and then I moved out, like that is not this fucking story. This story is the scariest 5 days of my life. Hey, what up you guys, it's your girl Talana and welcome back! Today I have a really long insane story that I'm just literally gonna go into so quickly, but I have a little bit of a backstory. So I currently am a junior in college, but I have only been physically in college for a year. I'm ahead. I'm graduating 2 years early. Anywho, so my first year in actual college, I had 3 roommates in 1 semester. Basically to sum up why I moved out of my first room, it's a long story, but I'm not gonna go into it that much, but basically I had a friend group and I stopped being friends with that group, and so they were my whole floor, so it was really awkward, so every time I went outside I'd get the fucking evil eye. So I decided that it would be better to just start again and find a new place to live. It was not better and I should not have moved. I put in a roommate transfer at the end of October and it took so long to get back to me that I was like, I forgot it was a thing, and it was like, LOL, you have 2 days to accept or decline this, and I was like, but I kind of still want to move, but like 2 days? Okay. So I had 2 days notice before I moved into my new dorm. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go meet the girl because I don't want to move in somewhere if she's a sociopath. So I get the room number and I go and I meet the girl. And I was like, hey, like I'm gonna be moving in. She's like, oh yeah, I got an email. So then she texted me later and was like, hey, do you want to meet up for dinner? And I'm like, okay, let's go ahead. So we go out to dinner, we eat, we're having a good time, and there's something off, but I couldn't tell what it was. I'm just like, oh, she's just weird. She wasn't just weird. If you guys can tell, that's where the story goes. She wasn't just weird. I'm kind of trying to ask her questions regarding, you like the lights on? Do you like the lights off? Do you play music? Do you do this? When do you have classes? Blah, 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 blah. So we're talking and we're getting along, and she's, yeah, we can share stuff. I'm never in the room. And she's like, half the nights I sleep over at my boyfriend's that lives down the hall from me. This sounds like exactly what I wanted. But basically, from our conversation, we decided that I would accept the request and be her roommate. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but if I didn't want a roommate, I would probably, I don't know, not make a good first impression, not be nice, or straight up say, I don't want a roommate. I go home, I accept the request, I think everything's gonna be peachy keen. And then it was really shocking, but like my whole friend group that I wasn't friends with anymore helped me move out. And like, yeah, it was kind of nice because it would have been a lot of work for me to do alone, but like also it was kind of like, get the fuck out of here, we don't like you. Yes, I have notes. This is one of those stories. I started taking the notes on the first day and you will see why. I've only met this girl once and we had a great interaction and there was nothing that was problematic, because if there was, right off the bat I would have been like, oh, there was already a problem? I probably don't want to move in here. I told her when we hung out and then confirmed over text that I would be moving in at 12 once I was allowed to. She's like, oh, well, I'll probably be asleep, but call me when you get here and I'll open the door for you. And I'm like, sounds good, because I was not allowed to get a key yet. We take the first couple boxes over, I'm knocking on the door, there's no answer, and so I'm like, what the hell? So I call her and then she ignores it. So I'm like, okay. Then I see my new roommate, we're gonna call her Sam, walking out of her boyfriend's room 3 doors down. And she literally just woke up. So she doesn't say a word to me. She opens the door and then I'm like, oh, thanks. And she's like, and then goes back to her boyfriend's room. So then I continue moving in. I get all my boxes put in, don't see my roommate at all. I don't know if this is just wild. I don't think it's wild. I don't know about you guys, but when you move in somewhere, there tends to be boxes and your items are on the floor. Some people like to leave those things there for days and some people don't. I am not one of those people. I would like to get everything put away as fast as possible, as to not piss off my new roommate and to have my stuff safely put away. So my other friend Lacey, she came and was helping me put everything away. Let me explain this real quick. Okay, so basically there was a side table. I had to roll it out of the way to put my desktop computer on the ground next to my desk. So I rolled the cabinet into the literal middle of the room. There is like not a walking path at all. Me and Lacey are putting my clothes away and then Sam and 2 of her friends come in. Don't say a word to me. I don't know about you, but when like there's no walking space, I don't know if it's time to have a fucking slumber party. That's just my opinion. Anywho, so her friends come in, hop over all of my stuff on the ground, and then get on her bed and start blasting music. Why are you having friends over? Like, can you go somewhere else? Like, I am moving in. So they've been there for an hour screaming, yelling, I'm putting my stuff away still. So then Sam finally looks over at me and goes, you know you can't put that there, referring to the cabinet that I had to move into the middle of the room.
Are you kidding? Like, you think I would put a cabinet in the middle of the room?
And so then I'm just like, I know I can't put that there, but as you can see, I'm moving in, so I have my stuff all over and I can't really put it anywhere, but the second I get all my stuff put away, I would gladly move the cabinet and then we can figure out how we want to like organize it, because I don't want to organize stuff in a way you wouldn't like. And she goes, I don't care. It just can't go there. And I'm like, yikes, off the bat. That's the only thing she'd said to me the entire time. I finished putting everything away, and I'm not kidding, the second I get my last fucking shirt put away, this girl goes, are you gonna move the cabinet yet? So me trying to not immediately offend my new roommate, yet again I go, so then eventually her and her friends leave for a little bit, and then she comes back with another friend. Just doesn't say anything, doesn't be like, hi, are you busy? Do you mind if I play music? Because I was doing homework, and then I was editing, and they were blasting music the entire time. I try when I live with people to be the most considerate of like what is gonna bug them or not, and her and her friend were sitting on her bed talking, screaming really loud. So I have my headphones on, literally max volume, and I can barely hear the video, but I'm like, I need to get it done. I don't want to immediately start my first day off by arguing with this girl about her being too loud. Like, every time I made eye contact with her, she'd be like literally like, you want to f***ing fight, bitch? And I'm like, her and this one guy that lived on the floor, he came by and he was the only one of her friends that was nice. And he was like, oh hi, you must be her new roommate, like, nice to meet you. And he's like, I saw that you were editing a YouTube video today, how is that going? And I'm like, and you are? Like, how the fuck did you know I was editing a video, sir? And he's like, oh, Sam posted a video of that in our group chat. She was getting a jacket from her closet for him, and I'm not kidding, she takes this jacket, literally as if she was punching him with all of her might, takes the jacket, slams it into his chest, and then storms out of the room. She was mad, obviously, that he told me that she filmed a video of me without my knowledge, which is illegal. So basically, when I say I unpacked my stuff, I really mean that I unpacked a lot of it until she screamed at me, and I was like, you know what, I'm probably not going to be in this room for that long. She did not end up staying the night in that room. So I'm just like, oh, could you keep the door unlocked, because I haven't got my key yet and I can't get it till like tomorrow. She's like, well, I'm doing something tonight, so no. And I'm like, I won't be able to get in. I'm like, can you just leave it unlocked? I'm like, I don't have a key. And she's like, well, go get a key. And I'm like, okay, but like I have stuff to do. And she's like, go get a key or I'm locking you out. I'm like, okay, I guess I can. And she's like, yeah, that's what I thought. And then I'm like, oh, so like, what are you doing tonight? Trying to shift it away from the very, I was gonna say passive aggressive conversation that we were previously having. And they look at each other, literally like, why do you want to know? And I'm like, oh, well, like, do you know when you'll be back? And she goes, whenever I want to be back. Anywho, so that is the end of the first day. So the next day, she's not in the room at all until like the very end of the day, where our RA comes by. This RA's name was Emma. Basically, on the first day that I had met this girl, pretty much bragging, oh, I'm friends with her RA, she's so cool, like, we were in this group together and, like, we're friends. And I didn't piece that together until I was living there, that I was like, if I have a problem with this roommate, I can't go to her because she's friends with my roommate. My previous RA was super nice, so I kind of just assumed, oh, most RAs are gonna be nice because it's, like, competitive to become an RA. That was not the case with this girl. Emma comes by to give me and Sam a roommate agreement form. Sit there and our RA fills out a form basically being like, do you sleep with the lights on? When do you go to bed? When do you get up? Do you want guests staying over? We had talked through most of this stuff when I had originally talked to her at dinner. You know what is shocking? All of her answers suddenly changed. She stays on her side of the room. She was being extremely rude in this agreement, so my first jab at her throughout the 2 days of her consistently being rude to me, I finally say in this meeting, I don't like loud music. I don't want music played out loud at all. But then I think of this, would I want someone to listen to my music if they didn't like it? No. So we made that agreement and she got really passive aggressive. I mean, like, even more passive aggressive, because she passed the passive aggressive line past a long ago. One of the questions was, do you want the door locked? And I'm like, yes. Why would I not want the door locked? She's like, well, if we're in the building, then you have to keep the door unlocked. I'm like, no. I could be in the room and I want the door locked because I don't want people walking in. And then her being like, I was carrying something. It was so hard to put a key in a hole and open the door. I'm like, wow, that's so hard dealing with safety. I'm so sorry that like you were carrying a box and like you had to set it down and like get your key to open a door. Like, it's so rude. She also loved to slam doors. It was one of her pastimes. We lived in one of the oldest dorms on campus, so when you slam the door, it literally sounds like the fucking scene from The Shining where he's breaking down the door with an axe. Like,
here's Johnny.
I would get stressed out before she even entered because she'd start with, I'm not kidding, shaking the door handle. So it sounds like an axe murderer is trying to break in. Throwing the door open into my closet door. So everything she did, slams things, throws things on tables. That night she again didn't stay in the room. Now it's the next day. I felt like the entire time that we were living together, she was trying to test me. This does not mean, can I run a mile in under 6 minutes? That is not the test I'm talking about. I'm talking about purposely leaving the room with music playing really loudly to see if I'll turn it off even though she won't be back for another 4 hours. This is the night where shit goes down. This is day 3 of 5 of living in this room, and you will see why this is the last day that I stayed in this room. If you thought little things of her being aggressive and yelling at me and being rude and were a deal at all, strap the fuck in. Nothing super eventful happened throughout the day. Then it becomes nighttime. And this was the only night that we spent in the same room together. So basically, she had always said, I'm never in the room, I rarely even sleep in there, and for someone that's not in there, she's in there a lot partying with friends, but like whatever. She basically was like, if I come into the room, it's not gonna be until 4 in the morning. I literally am never in there. I was gonna go to bed early that night because I had to be up at 6 a.m. the next day to register for classes. So I go into the room, the lights are off, and it looks like Sam is sleeping on the bed. And so it looks like a relatively normal sleeping environment, except for one thing. She's blasting Billie Eilish on the fucking speaker in the middle of the room, literally max volume where the door was shaking. Are you okay? Not fucking whale noises or like white noise. Literally Billie Eilish bad guy. Like,
I'm a bad guy.
I love Billie Eilish. I'm not mad at her choice in music, but I'm mad that you're playing it at night and you are quote unquote sleeping. The next song after Bad Guy was Zanny. Like, are you kidding? Sis, we get it, you're all about the bass. Calm your fucking ass down, like go to bed. I'm already getting mad. Like nothing's happened yet. So I open the door so quietly. I get ready for bed so quietly. I get into bed so quietly because I would never want to wake up someone, which makes no fucking sense because she was playing Billie Eilish. So I get into bed and I put in my headphones. Max volume headphones. Can't even hear my own music. Literally, like, I would need a fucking bagpipe player next to my bed to drown out the music. I'm trying to do everything I can to fall asleep for an hour. I sit up in my bed, and our beds were adjacent to, well, parallel, perpendicular. That to each other. And the speaker is at the end of my bed. So I sit up in my bed and I go, Sam, pretty loud. Can't even hear my own voice, so I go, Sam, at the top of my lungs. Doesn't budge. I'm like, damn, this is out. But like, you have to be respectful of the contract we both signed the night before that said I don't want music playing out loud. You know, she must be asleep, so it wouldn't really matter if I were to turn down her music. She wouldn't notice because I called her name really loudly twice, and if she was even remotely awake, she would have heard me and responded, right? 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 Wrong? I'm wrong? Yes, I'm wrong. Thank you guys for finishing that question for me. I get out of bed and I walk to the cabinet at the edge of my bed that has her speaker on it, and her bed is like this far away. And I am not kidding. I press the down volume button one time. Boop. And this bitch jumps out of bed and swings at me. All force. Literally tries to hit me. Was fake sleeping to test me and see if I would touch her stuff. She was already breaking the rules, so I was like, okay, I won't turn it off, but I'll turn it down. I press it once, and she swings at me. So I dodge it, and I'm like, what the fuck? She's like, what the fuck is your problem? Why are you touching my stuff? And I'm like, I literally said your name twice, like, if you're awake, you f***ing answer me. She's like, don't you ever touch my again. And she's like, put in some fucking headphones if you have a problem with it. And I'm like, I need an inhaler. I am very shook that she just tried to literally hit me in the face. Like, not just like went like that, like literally like fucking Jake Paul in the boxing ring, like ready to kill you. So then I'm just like, whatever. So then I go and get into bed, and then she's just like turns up her music again. She pauses it, throws her phone down. She gets out of bed, slams the door literally harder than she ever has before. An hour goes by and I'm still trying to sleep and I'm so stressed out. And while she's gone, 3 people come into the room at different times without knocking and take stuff from her side of the room. Imagine you're trying to fall asleep and you're in a dorm. Someone would open the door, have their phone flashlight on, and like walking through and like stumbling. I don't even know these people. They just walk in without knocking. So then I sit up and I'm like, can I help you? And these people are like, oh, sorry, we didn't know you were awake, like we were just trying to get stuff for Sam. Yeah, try knocking. And I'm like, get out. I'm like, you passed the nice roommate mark when you tried to fucking kill me, bitch. Like, when you tried to deck me in the face, like, we are not friends. She comes back an hour later. I'm literally laying in bed with one eye open, like, is she going to try to strangle me in my sleep or poison me or stab me or something? Like, she had this boyfriend. He is one of the crustiest motherfuckers I've ever seen in my life. Like, high key. Like, he has like Einstein's hair and like like a crack baby's teeth, literally. Like, he literally looks like he sells meth out of a trailer. I sleep for 2 hours because I had one eye open all night and it was really stressful. I have a couple stages of revenge. When I'm mad at people, I'll be passive aggressive, and I have a long fuse of passive aggressiveness. After I peak at passive aggressiveness, I don't go to calling you names or being mean to your face. No, I don't go there. That's too mean. I go to ruin your entire life before I call you a bitch. I will laugh and call you a bitch as I'm watching your life be completely ruined. So I was like, you know what? It's game time. Let's go. So the next day I decide that I'm going to go to a RA, not my RA. I basically went to his room and I was like, hey, can I talk to you? And I basically tell him exactly what happened. Like, she tried to hit me for touching her music. It's like, yes, I probably shouldn't have, but she was breaking a rule and I don't know what to do because I couldn't sleep and I had to be up to apply for classes, etc., etc. So when I talked to Lacey, she had told me that she actually figured out that she was friends with Sam's old roommate. Now, I don't know if it's just me, but I am a curious ass hoe and I want to know why her old roommate moved out, and I want to see if this is like a trend. I get her old roommate's number and we're gonna call her Abby. Abby happened to move just down the hall from her. So I go and interview Abby about her experience of living with Sam. She was always aggressive, always slamming doors, always screaming. However, a lot of her stances on things changed. She's like, but she was never aggressive and like tried to hit me like she did you. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I must just be special then. So I was like, okay, well, what's the main reason that caused you to move out? And she goes, basically one time he stayed the night and I heard them in the room while I was sleeping. So basically Emma said that we could have a meeting together about what happened. At 5, I go to the other room and have a meeting with her. I sit down at this table. So did you want me to tell you the whole story, or like, what do you already know? And she goes, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. Okay, Dr. Phil, calm the f down. Like, what kind of f***ing answer is that? I also found out this girl is a psychology grad student. None of her patients are gonna do well, is all I'm gonna say. So I tell her the entire story, and I'm not kidding. She sits there, no comment, no, oh my god, I can't believe that happened. Are you okay? Did she actually hit you? Did she touch you? Did she threaten you? Not anything other than just a... After I finished telling her, I'm like, okay, well, that's basically it. And she goes, okay, so we're gonna have Sam come in now and hear her side of the story. You need to hear her side of the story? No comment? No questions, no concerns. So me and Emma are sitting across the table from each other. Sam sits here and faces her and won't even look at me. So Emma asks Sam what her problem is, like what happened, like why we don't like each other. This girl literally goes, well, it all started when she moved in. When I moved in and like didn't complain about you being super mean to me and not talking to me and like doing absolutely nothing that was like helpful or nice or kind or considerate, and I just let it happen because I was trying to be a nice roommate and not cause it immediately. She goes, well, when she moved in, her shit was everywhere. Yeah, that's called moving in, honey. Don't know if you've heard of her. Also, let's just bring up the fact that that RA never ever mentioned anything about how that's literally like domestic violence. She's like, well, why can't you just put in headphones? I'm like, why can't you put in headphones? Why can't you listen to your music with headphones? Like, pretty much all of the insane part of the population. I will gladly listen to music alone out loud, but the second a roommate comes in, off. You buy headphones. You buy headphones. I'm like, I tried using headphones, they didn't work. And she's just like, well then get better ones. Get earplugs. And I'm like, I don't want to wear earplugs so you can be disrespectful, break the contract, and like play music out loud that's way too loud, and like no earplugs could block that out. My RA is like, damn, this is really tough. Do you guys have a solution? Okay, psychology grad student. So then I'm like, there's no way I'm spending my own money. I want you guys to take a guess of how long this meeting was. Most RA meetings with roommates are a half hour long. You wanna know how long ours was? 2 hours. 2 hours. So for the first hour of that, I was calm. I listened to what she said, and all I did was respectfully reply with my opinion, as she proceeded to call me a bitch in front of the RA, where the RA did nothing. She called me annoying, rude. She literally just ignored the fact that she tried to hit me. Both of them did. They didn't even bring it up. And after an hour of being treated like shit by these two gross-ass scum human beings, I decided I had enough. Decided after she called me a bitch 20 times to reply by calling her a bitch for the first time. This RA literally looks at me and she goes, okay, Talana, take a breath. There's no need to use that language. I'm gonna cry. I'm so angry right now. Like, this just told me to breathe and take a breath and calm down. It gets worse. There's cops involved. Like, wait. And the RA just literally backed her up, and I just knew how this meeting was gonna go. Not only was it just name calling, but she also gave me various threats to my safety. So the RA was like, well, maybe you guys should hang out more and get to know each other. She finally looks at me and she goes, that wouldn't end well. The RA replied with, absolutely nothing. And that's how the meeting ended. The RA ends the conversation with being like, well, Sam already has a lot of friends here in this dorm, so like, why don't you just move again, Talana? Because you don't have any friends here. So after I was told that I have no friends in this dorm and that I should go and move, you remember way back when the story started, when I said that before the meeting, Sam and her friend were hanging out in the room. You'd assume that if you're going to a meeting, you would tell the friend to leave the room so that there's not a stranger to me sitting in our room for 2 hours. I get in there, the lights are off, the door is locked. I open the door. Her friend is asleep in her locked room, like locked our door to take a nap. So I turn on the lights, I swing the door open, pulling a full Sam, you know, might as well. So then I immediately grab a duffel bag in my backpack and I take everything I need to live out of my backpack for 2 days and leave and don't return to the room. Literally lived out of a backpack for 3 days. So I was like, I'm literally homeless. I have nowhere to go. I have no friends. So I text Mark and I'm like, yo, like, can I sleep on your floor? And he's like, go ahead. Mark and Alex, if you're watching, I literally love you guys. Most people wouldn't think that that's that big of a deal. This was the most kind thing that I have had happen that entire school year. So then I sleep on their floor. I had 1 test the next day and then 3 tests the day after that. I had to study in the meanwhile of all of this. I was like, can I please stay with you like the next night? I have to like figure out a way to like get out. They're like, go ahead, like stay as long as you want, like we don't care. And then that night I decide to go over the head of my stupid RA, the community director who is in charge of all of the RAs. So I tell her what happens and she goes, okay, so did you want to get a new room? And I'm like, yes, please. And she's just like, okay, so did you want to do that tonight? And I'm like, it's like 4. I'm like, what? I'm like, a new room tonight? She's like, at the latest, it would be like tomorrow morning. Pick a new dorm. It's all the way across campus because I'm literally like, I never want to come by this dorm again. I'm like, if I see this girl, she will jump me in the street. So then she's like, I'll email you in an hour and let you know if we can move you out tonight or tomorrow morning. And I'm like, okay. So basically, I get an email and it says I have to move out the next morning. So I'm like, okay. Mark and Alex let me stay on their floor again. So I stay there. I have 3 tests that day. And I have to completely move out in secret from my psycho roommate because I don't want her to kill me while I'm leaving. And I'm done with my last test at 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. I had planned for Lacey to come meet me at my dorm and we will go and move me out. So in the middle of the day I had texted my RA and I go, I'm moving out tonight. Make sure that Sam is not in the room when I move out. And she goes, okay. She said she won't be there for a while and I'm like, okay. So she's like, I'll get my 2 friends that you literally met 1 time. The 3 of us will help you move. I let her in. We start, I'm not kidding, throwing everything I have in trash bags. The second we get there, I'm like, okay, Lacey and this girl go and get our car. And so we're packing or whatever, and I get everything into trash bags and we're just waiting. Yet again, my stuff is all over the floor, but it's all in boxes. There's a very defined path through the room. I'm so on edge, and I'm like, I had that psychic feeling where I'm just like, you know what? This isn't over. This is not gonna be easy enough where I can just move out and she won't come. I'm like, she's gonna purposely come back early, and that's what happened. When I say this girl was loud, I'm not kidding. She stomped like Bigfoot. So she stomps down the hallway, and my door's propped open. Me and the girl look at each other, and I go, I'm sorry for what you're about to see. And she's like, what? And I'm like, shh. And I, being the genius I am, turned on my voice recorder. She comes in, takes the very, very defined path through all of my belongings over to her side of the room, slams down her laptop, slams down her stuff, picks up something, and then is about to leave. And on her way out, begins to kick all of my boxes of valuable shit. She kicks my computer. She kicks everything.
That's where like my little half of the room is.
If you like don't want to kick my shit, that'd be real cool. Cause I'm moving. Honestly, in terms of our conversations we had, that is pretty damn nice. She stomped into the hallway, and I'm not kidding, at the top of her lungs. Literally sounds like a screeching siren. You can't tell me what to do, this is my room. So she screams, and the girl is just sitting there like, this is some good tea though. I go and I text my RA, and I'm not kidding, she gets into the doorway and she goes, what? So I'm like, I don't feel safe. I don't want her in here. Make sure she doesn't come back in here. And she's like, well, it's her room too, so I can't tell her not to be in it. I'm like, you're not gonna go talk to her and tell her to, I don't know, don't fucking come in here. And then she's just like, where is she? I can hear her because she's in the hallway and the door's open. She literally is like, Talana's really upset that like you like kicked her stuff. And like, can you not do that? Well, all I can do is sit here and like observe and like, but like I can't tell her not to come in her own room. You know, and this was completely her room. The past 3 days, when I was homeless, when I was literally sleeping on someone else's floor because I'm too scared to come back in here. Are you kidding me? So then she leaves. I'm just like, you know what? This isn't it. She's gonna try to come back or something, and she's gonna try to start a physical fight, and I'm not gonna be the one to start it, but I will finish it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not really in the mood to, I don't know, get something on my police record today, but I'm really in the mood to get something on hers. Lacey and her friend come back and they're like, okay, the car's outside, let's go. And I'm just like, okay, I gotta make a quick call. And I'm like, you guys can start bringing this down, but like, I gotta make a quick call. So I go, beep, beep, boop, boop. University Police Department. I would like to talk to an officer.
Well, I do have an officer heading over there right now, but I am going to disconnect with you.
I need someone here right now, and they go, we'll be there. So I see a cop coming in, and he looks like Paul Blart, and he was like the head cop that I dealt with. So nice. I go and I tell them everything that's happened. Meanwhile, all these girls are moving the stuff out of my room for me with literally none of my help. It's like I also had to deal with this, but like these girls, I don't even know, they like moved everything out of my room for me because they're so nice. It was like awesome. I was talking to one cop, one RA, and then halfway through the conversation, I saw another cop stand in the doorway. So I assumed there's 2 cops and 1 RA. So then I'm leaving. I'd only seen 2 cops at this moment. And I look down the hallway and there are 3 more cops, 2 of which are standing on both sides of her boyfriend's door, which she was located in. Like this. On both sides, like the FBI, and then one standing in front of it. Like the Secret Service, literally just like icons. Literal icons. But I was so scared that like in the moment I couldn't laugh, but now it's literally the funniest thing. I get police escorted out by 2 cops. My life is a movie. We go to my new dorm, which I've never been in. I don't even know who my roommate is. Literally, I'm going to show up at 8 p.m. Get there and all I do, and I put down 2 boxes, I look at the desk and I see 2 post-it notes. But basically it was a note and she's like, hi love, I'm your roommate, here's my phone number, I'm so excited to meet you. Running back to the car. I see the car and there is a golf cart with a lady with a flashlight looking at the license plate behind it. I'm like, we're gonna get a ticket. Come up to the car, and I'm not kidding. Like, I don't cry, and I'm sobbing, and I'm like, why like, are you giving us a ticket? Oh, this is service parking, and like, you're not supposed to park here. She's like, I was just gonna wait for you and give you a warning, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Oh, are you moving out? And I'm like, yeah, like the cops are waiting for me. I get it, and she's like, I'm patrolling this area all night. I won't write you up for anything. You move out and make sure you get out safely. Also, all the keys had to be returned by 10 p.m. and I had to get my new key for my new room before that, so that was also like a time rush. I did it though. I move into my new dorm. I'm literally sweating, having an asthma attack. I had been crying. So I come in, I put my stuff down. My cute little roommate is doing her makeup, like getting ready to go to a party, and she's like, oh my god, hi, I'm your roommate. Like, nice to meet you. And I'm like, hi, I'm Talana, nice to meet you. Anywho, that's my story. That is all I have for you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. I will see you guys next week with a lot more calm video. Peace.